What's up, everyone, and welcome to the 30th episode of the Envision Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Brad's Gaming, and as always, I'm joined by Clonish Joe
Hello, everyone.
and Triple Bravo.
Howdy, folks.
So this week we are going to be talking all things video games that turned into movies. Just kind of discussing them, going over our thoughts. We, like them, dislike them, reviewing them. I don't know, a little bit of everything. I don't know. We're just gonna we're winging it,
There's
baby.
a couple of them. Oh.
A couple. I think Joe's seen every single movie there is possible. So
I like my video game movies. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And then there's me, the polar opposite. I
watch the bad,
literally
the
don't watch
bad, and
it.
the worst.
Yeah, just don't watch anything. So I think the only thing that we have for an order is we're gonna talk about the newest movie first, and then after that it's the Wild West, baby. We're just shooting from the hip, going all over the place. So the first movie that we're gonna talk about is the Uncharted movie that is still in theaters actually right now, and sadly for
Jesus,
Bravo, he's gonna get some. I think it is. It might be out now, but the last time, because we were looking at movies.
No, it's still in theaters.
Yeah,
When did this
crazy.
thing come into theaters? Wasn't it like the middle of February 18th? I guess that's realistically. It's been a month. Wait, it's been a month and it's still going for like the next few weeks, I could see. Okay. Huh. That's all right. It must be doing good enough.
It's doing pretty well, I think. And the other thing as well, when it gets towards the end, it's cut down to like 1-2 showings a night. So
yeah. So before we get into the movie itself, I just want to run through a few of its ratings. Its IMDb score is a 6.7 out of 10, and for Metacritic, it's got a 47%. And then if you care about Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 40.
I'm kind of surprised it's not lower on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes hates everything.
Everything video game to big screen, 50 is the max.
Almost any. It's funny, if you look at anything that I enjoy in a movie, Rotten Tomatoes gives it like a 20 or lower. Like,
but yeah, so how did you feel about the movie in general, Brad?
All right, so I went into this kind of. I haven't played the Uncharted games in a while. I beat them when they were up first in the PS3, and then I actually haven't touched Uncharted 4 anything past that. Just haven't. I don't know why. Haven't been in the mood. But I went into it and I was like, I don't really care for watching it. Like, I didn't want to, but literally what sold me on it was we kind of were in the talks of doing something like this. Tom Holland, kind of cute, that face. So I think it was literally just us talking about it, and I'm like, you know what, this will just add another thing for me to talk about. It's new, relevant. So I'm like, why not?
And
so I went in there.
We also had to drag you into this episode kicking and screing. Brad's tried to cancel this like 4 times.
I don't have much to talk about, I got problems. Got a lot of problems, man. So but I didn't really have much of an impression, but then when I got in there, it blew me away, like, because I had low expectations and I really enjoyed myself. I mean, I texted you guys that I was like, things way better than I expected it to be. Like, it's better than it should be.
Yeah, so I literally had zero intentions of going to see this movie in theaters. Although I wanted to see it, I was just going to wait till I could buy it or rent it on YouTube. But then Brad messaged us and was like, it's actually really good. And Brad hates everything in terms of movies and film. And I was like,
I just don't like watching movies. I don't hate everything. I actually like a lot of movies. I just don't want to put the time into watching them.
But regardless, since Brad hates everything and said this was good, I was like, oh, it might be real good. So I went, and my dad and brother were actually supposed to meet me at the theater. And then they thought I was meeting them at my house, and then I was driving them to the theater. So I got there and just seen it alone, which I've seen a few movies alone lately.
There you go.
I've been digging it. Who wants to go to the movie theater with people? It's so much better alone. But I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It was better than I expected. It definitely has some faults in terms of like following the actual story, but it's a movie. Not everything from a game translates perfectly 1-to-1 to the big screen. nor did I expect it to.
Mhm.
But what stood out most to you in terms of like what made it good, and what did you like? Didn't you
Um,
like?
so I think the thing that stood out the most to me was the like it actually I felt like was kind of funny.
Yeah,
Like like I had a good couple chuckles. The action stuff was pretty entertaining. Um so like overall like I felt like the entertainment and stuff was good. The story kind of like you said, I felt like they tried to push too much into it at once. Like literally halfway through the movie, I was like, wow, this movie could literally be done right now. And I feel like I got my money's worth.
yeah.
And they just kept pushing it on and on and on. And it just felt kind of odd. Um, but I'm not, I mean, it's not, it wasn't terrible because of it, but it was just, I felt like they were like really shoving stuff down your throat and they could have maybe spread it apart. But then again, they probably didn't know how well it was going to do. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, throw everything at the wall, see what happens. And, if
Yeah.
we'll come to the problem later
I
on.
know they before this movie even was released, like they already planned on making more. So
Mm.
I personally hope they
Well,
do.
that's,
And obviously
yeah.
at the ending credits they give you the gist that they plan to.
Yeah, yeah. It's it definitely was, but honestly, I didn't here's the thing. I don't know Tom Holland from anything. I know he's in Spider-Man. I've never seen him in any movie other than this. And then there's Mark Wahlberg, obviously is
Marky
Mark
Mark.
Wahlberg. Big Marky Mark baby. Um so and I like Mark Wahlberg, but I just felt like I don't feel like Tom Holland was like a great like he wasn't old enough to be Nathan Drake. Like that was a huge thing. Like he was being a bartender. Dude looks like he's 16. It's just weird. Like I don't
He's
know, man.
actually
Like
my
It's
grow out.
supposed to be an origin story, though,
Yeah, it
right?
is. It is
Yeah.
supposed to be an origin story.
But
They
even still, but Nathan Drake's like, well, first of all, Sully's like supposed to be like
y-
60s, I think,
yeah,
or
but
something.
it's supposed to be like
Dude's
how they first met.
oh
So it's supposed to
well.
be like
Then
back.
I guess the weird thing is they did the first meeting, but then they like pulled a lot from the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And it
And the
was
second
like,
game.
yeah, and then there's even like a little bit from the third game.
Yeah.
It's like, what? All right, so that's why I
Yeah.
was like thrown off. I thought it was basically a reference to the first game, totally.
Yeah. So
But
that's probably where you got confused in that aspect, because I thought it was
yeah,
fine for what it was. I mean, it was weird seeing Sully without the mustache and a little bit younger Drake,
hmm
but knowing it was an origin story going in, I was completely fine with it.
yeah. Um, but other than that, I mean, it it felt decent. I felt like Chloe was probably the best, like casted wise for her. Like she looks
Closest to her
very,
natural character.
yeah, closest to the character. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I definitely it had its faults, but I think it was more of the rushing things along, and they could have probably drawn it out and made even more movies. But it was basically like an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah. I mean,
Another
that's
movie kind of
essentially
similar
what
to this.
Uncharted is. It's just
Yeah,
PS.
Indiana Jones with a different character,
Free
and then
Indiana
also
Jones.
if you have you guys seen Jungle Cruise by any chance?
I have seen a little bit of it.
So that movie is
Same
with
thing.
The Rock,
Yeah.
and basically the same thing, just a female Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and you could make the same argument for the newest Tomb Raider movie with
hmm
Alicia Vikander.
hmm
And
But they're both
I am a history.
not that Jungle
nerd,
Cruise has anything to
so
do with it.
whenever it comes to Uncharted and Tomb
Yeah.
Raider, I'm all in. I thought the acting was fairly good. Obviously, they got some big name actors for the movie.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the main weakness was realistically like the plot. Like you said, it was kind of rushed along. It didn't have a real sense of. I mean, it definitely followed the theme of the Uncharted game. Like, oh, you go here and then there's a problem, and then you go here and you find out the next step and you solve the puzzle. I just thought the ending was rushed. So like it was all this build up to find the treasure, and then you get to the end and you get like what felt like 10 minutes and it was over. And I was like, "Oh."
Mm.
And whenever I think of Uncharted, it could be just thinking of the older games. Every time you get to the treasure, like a bigger problem arises, whether it be like I don't remember the official names for them in the first one, but like the monsters.
They're like they're almost like Wendigos or something.
Yeah.
Like these big
And I feel like that's a theme for the other
Yetis.
games. Like every time you get there, there's some different curse or something. And this one, it just like wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just PvP.
That was very, yeah, I would say the same thing. It was like anticlimactic. It was like, we found the treasure.
And there's
Oh
conveniently a
wow.
giant hole where it is.
Yep. There's a giant hole, and on top, and then oh no, 1 minute after we found the treasure, the bad people show up.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's pretty much how the
And
games go.
yeah, and then oh no, now there's a helicopter that somehow got through the trees and picked up this gigantic ship full
Yeah.
of treasure and
Then,
everything.
of course, now that we have helicopters flying with giant pirate ships, there has to be a fight on them.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was entertaining.
It was entertaining.
It was entertaining.
And
so
the best part of it was the after credit scene.
Yeah. My favorite I literally had an audible gasp and I said out loud, I was like, "Holy crap, that's Nathan Drake." When he was on the guy's on the beach and he's just like, "What happened to you guys?"
Yep.
And or something along those lines. Literally said it out loud for the entire crowd to hear me. And I think nobody has ever played the games because nobody had any reaction to that guy.
Yeah.
Didn't even know who he was.
I feel like I was the only. There wasn't many people in the theater when I seen it. I seen it
Me
like
neither.
a week ago, but I feel like anybody there had no idea what was happening. They were just like, "Ooh, new movie with Tom Holland."
Yeah.
So explain the end credit scene. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so after the credits, you get a little bit of a scene. Spoilers for anybody who doesn't want to know what happens in Uncharted. But Drake is being held captive or in a bar, getting captured. Yada yada, does some things, gets a fancy gun, points it at a bad guy, then in kicks a door. And it's Sully. And so it's Mark Wahlberg. And he says something, and then Drake like turns around and looks at him and just busts out laughing and is like, "What is that?" And then it like shows Mark Wahlberg and he has the Sully stash. And and he breaks him out and pretty much.
So the end credit scene was about a mustache.
It was.
Yep.
And it was
Pretty much.
literally the thing everybody complained about for the entire development of the movie. And they were probably just like, "Hey, Mark, we need you back here. We need to give you a mustache. People are going to hate us if we don't." And just filmed like the last scene. But it was it was funny. Especially because Mark Wahlberg looks ridiculous with a Sully stash.
He does. It was definitely really good. I don't know. I still recommend, even though we just spoiled a bunch of it, but
I mean,
it's definitely worth a watch.
We basically just
spoiled a mustache. Let's be honest.
I told you that's spoiler alert. That's what you get a spoiler for. But the movie's already brought in about 304.8 million. I don't have any real list of what they put into the making of the movie yet, but that's what its current box office number is sitting at.
Listen, I mean, I think this is a good sign for Sony Productions making some like. Obviously, I know they're working on The Last of Us,
Yeah,
the HBO show, and they have something else that they're in the works also for a TV show. I can't remember what it was though. I think they're talking about something else. Maybe it has been announced, but I think it's a good sign that we'll probably see some more. Oh, it's Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah, I'm
Ghost of
actually
Tsushima
really
has
excited for
something.
that because that game was phenomenal.
So I just think it's a good sign. You know, if this is what we're gonna get, this is definitely on the high end, I would say, for video game movies for, you know, recent times and whatnot. So I'm pretty excited to see what the future comes. Like,
I don't have a whole lot of hope for a sequel in the Uncharted universe, mostly because of the way that they shotgun blast references to multiple games.
They're out of ideas.
It just doesn't. It just doesn't seem like they've planned for an extended film. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna pull a Silent Hill 2. They're gonna be like, here is $20 million. Go make a film that is the exact same quality as the first one. You've got 3 months to do it, right? And it's gonna be garbage.
So for a little bit of reference, because I didn't have the number before, I was able to pull it up. The movie was made with about $120 million budget. So I mean, they doubled their money. So it's a good sign. we could just piggyback off of the Sony productions and go right into the Silent Hill movies since Bravo brought them up.
Yeah. Real quickly, just to mention for Bravo though, the only thing I'll say with them continuing is they did leave out one main character, so they could definitely play off of that character being in the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they do have something to work with.
Well, they only made references to the games, right?
Yeah.
Like the airplane scene and stuff. So I mean, they could probably literally do it again, and then make a joke like you're always falling out of planes or something. Like it's not hard.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
definitely.
But I'm
a
just
lot
saying,
more.
it just seems worrisome to me. Let me ask
Yeah.
you guys a question though. Would you rather have an A-list actor play a main character in a movie, or would you rather have a rando that looks the part, that is given the chance to act the part? I'll let you guys speak and then I'll give my thoughts.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about this more whenever we get to Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. But for instance, if we're talking about picking a actor or actress based solely off their looks, so I personally think Alicia Vikander looked fairly like Lara Croft, and she's not a super big actress, so it fit, and I thought she did well in the movie. I know most people didn't like the new movie, but I thought it was really good, and I hope they make another one. But I'm also easy to please with movies. But regardless, back to the question. I feel like there's like a in between. Like, if the actor's good enough, I feel like I value a better actor over meeting the looks. We'll come back to that with Welcome to Raccoon City. But there's also a point where if it's not the best actor, you better get the look right, at least. Like, whenever it comes to a game film, because it's like either really well represent my character or look like my character, and I'd like to have a mesh somewhere in between.
Brett?
So I got a question to go with your question as well. What do you think about? Because usually the voice actors nowadays resemble the character
Yeah, because they're typically used
in
for
some
some
ways.
of the mocap as well.
So yeah, so it's like, what? Wonder if that. Okay, so like Troy Baker, it seems like a dude. Like he does a lot of stuff. He looks like an actor as well. I I feel like he could definitely be somebody if they were to make a game, maybe based on his character, that he could step into the role and do the voice of it. Obviously he doesn't look like Joel from The Last of Us. He does the voice of Joel,
Yeah.
but as
I feel like there's definitely a thing there, but I feel like at the same time, like, being a good voice actor doesn't necessarily mean a good actor, because body language is a thing which you don't see in a voice actor. And then like facial expressions, things like that. That's where my difference is. But I feel like there's definitely voice actors out there who are capable, but I don't think it's a common thing.
And I think the good voice actors use their bodies when they do the acting.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the voice. Like, you just watch these voice actors behind the scenes, like they're doing like a fight scene or something. They're like actually acting it out.
Yeah. But anyways, to answer your question, I definitely think that it's kind of a middle of the road. I think you need to represent, like, I don't want you to be like, okay, for, let's just say you've got like some guy, like, okay, make a God of War game, right? You got Kratos or something along that line. I don't want you to pick some little skinny dude that,
Tom Holland is Kratos.
Yeah, I don't want some like little tiny dude. Like, it's got to be some big guy that looks like a little bit. Like, it doesn't have to look exactly like Kratos, but like you should have like the stature of him and the build and whatever.
Yeah, like Tom Holland's gonna have to start taking steroids for sure.
He's gonna have to,
and they're gonna have to do that.
So basically, you're looking for the Rock as Kratos.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna do that perspective thing where Tom Holland's like the same size as The Rock.
Which, to be
They're,
fair,
Yeah,
like
that's-
standing.
I think The
away
Rock could
from
make
each other.
actually a pretty good Kratos.
He could. He definitely could. But that's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't want them to be like Tom Holland, because Tom Holland's got, he's got a
so
pretty good
hot right
physique.
now.
He's got a pretty good.
They're just throwing him in everything.
Oh man, but he like
Tell you what,
dude's
you
got
say
a
the
pretty good
word-
physique in Uncharted. So
You say the word forest or jungle, and The Rock just appears. He's like, "Are we filming? Good," because that man is in a lot of wooded films these days.
Yeah.
he's just he's a outdoorsman or something.
Yeah, but my thought on actors to fill the roles of characters that already have like a face recognized with them or a physique associated with them is that there are so many people in this world that are attempting to be actors and actresses that there's got to be somebody out there that can fit every role, at least much closer than what some of the actors that they choose in these AAA films or these AAA actors that are filling roles like Tom Holland or Marky Mark, whatever. Like, pretty sure there's like a dude that's unknown that could fill both of those roles. Like it could happen. So I'm for the the thing of like giving more people a chance to lead the role. And like Tom Holland, he's going to be a hard guy to anchor down. Like you said, he's hot right now. Okay, but if you get some unknown dude and you're like, hey, you're going to play the main character in Uncharted, they'd be like, yeah, that's great. I'm going to do that. And they're like, hey, your film made double what it cost, so we're going to do another one. And he's like, let me check my schedule. Yeah, it's open. I can do that. So there's more benefits to it,
I think there is, but let's be realistic. What is the likelihood of the Uncharted movie doubling its budget and profit, or in the box office, if Tom Holland wasn't the face of it?
I think pretty similar.
I don't think there's a chance. I think if you look
Yeah,
at it, there's Tom Holland brings in people who aren't Uncharted fans, and Uncharted's not the biggest game out there.
Sure, but I just don't know if it would.
It definitely
all that much.
It definitely matters because, for example, I wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for Tom Holland being in it, because wife and stepdaughter would not have wanted to see it if Tom Holland was.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely benefit. Sorry, my dog's going nuts. A benefit to having A-list actors because it helps market the movie. Like, you could literally just be like, new Tom Holland movie, and there's a bunch of 15-year-old girls out there that are like, oh my god, instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a fine line to walk though, because like I do think there's the benefit of getting somebody maybe closer to the role for the fans, but then you're not going to pull in as much. Obviously, yes, people do go see movies without A-list actors if the movie looks good, but if you look at the movie without Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, it looks like a generic Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I mean, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But
yeah, that's what it is, and that's what I mean. But like, basically, if it didn't have Tom Holland, it didn't have the name Uncharted, didn't have Mark Wahlberg, and just had a bunch of randos in it, but it was the same exact movie essentially, change a couple things around, like, would people go see it? I
mean, that's very insightful, because I don't give a crap who is the lead role or whatever, and I'm actually more interested if it is an unknown. So I guess I'm the
you're
the
definitely the odd one. Even though I agree, I don't really care.
When it comes to Uncharted, right? Like, as a fan of Uncharted, I would have, I would have rather have seen somebody else than Tom Holland play Nathan Drake.
No, you said you wouldn't have seen it.
You wouldn't have seen it.
I wouldn't have seen it because I would
wife.
have seen it by myself. Maybe I wouldn't have seen it because I would have been having to drag Bethany kicking and screaming to go see it or something. There would have been some other movie we would have seen instead. That's all. So
But let's keep this ball
um,
rolling. This isn't only about Uncharted,
yeah,
No, it's about Tom Holland.
of course.
Tom Holland
But
episode.
like we said, we were rolling into
TH.
Silent Hill movies, which the first Silent Hill movie, I believe it was 2008, 2006.
2006.
Yeah. So this movie was basically what all video game movies aspired to be at the time of release. The movie had a $50 million budget, ended up making a little over $100 million in the box office. And let's take a look here and get the IMDb ratings. But I know we've all watched this movie, so Bravo's going to be in this conversation a bit more. Just a little bit, though.
Probably not.
So, Bravo, since you've been quiet, tell me what you thought of
Mhm.
Silent Hill in general, the movie.
I watched it knowing nothing about the game at all. I don't even know if I knew it was a game, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought the film was pretty good, like thriller mystery kind of a film. Like I didn't have any negative things about it. Kept me engaged. This was also many years ago.
And
so that's
like
my
3 days
vague
ago,
memory. Yes.
we just watched this movie together, and the second one within the past few days leading up to this. But, Brad, I know you're a huge Silent Hill fan, collector. Tell us your thoughts on the film.
Yeah, I feel like for representation for the game as well as movie, this is basically top of the line. You know, it's very much like you said. Um, Even like casting the looks and whatnot of, obviously it's there's a lot of references to the game, but they don't like fully do it. Like they change a couple of names, but it's like
Yeah.
who they're supposed to be. And I feel like they did it really well, along with having like an interesting story, and for the time, effects and everything looked decent. You know, it wasn't like really bad CGI or anything.
Yeah,
Now looking back at it, it's
well, I
not
mean,
100%
realistically,
amazing, but
most of the film was done without CG. They used a lot of practical effects, so it's gonna hold up to the test of time a lot better than some other movies. I mean,
yeah,
for example, Lord of the Rings is basically what almost all practical effects, and you could watch it today, and you're still like, wow, this could have been filmed last week, and I wouldn't know.
But I mean, I don't really know 100% what to say. I guess that you'd have to like lead me a little bit more, but like I really loved it. I felt like overall it definitely held the tone for what Silent Hill is, of like that creepy atmosphere. It captured what I feel like like the town of Silent Hill is, and then when it goes into can't think of the other world, whatever it's called in Silent Hill right now. I'm drawing a blank right
The
now.
Upside Down.
Yeah, whatever. So it captured all of that well, and then you got Pyramid Head. He looks cool, you know. It definitely. I feel like I honestly have more to say about the second game the second movie than the first one, because it's like I feel like they did very well, and it's like that's what the goal is.
It's like you did good. You did good.
You did good. Keep it up, kid.
Yeah, so I thought this movie is amazing. I love Silent Hill, and the film is something I'm more familiar with than most of the games. I thought casting wise, they did really good. Most of the characters look very similar to their representative outside of, Sean Bean
Yeah.
and Rada Mitchell being a complete, like, different character from the games. My realistically biggest complaint is, why didn't they just use Harry? Or
Yeah,
like,
I didn't understand
why not
it.
just flip Sean Bean and like let him be the star? But I know the answer
Yeah.
to this question already, even though I'm asking it. So Gons, the director, said from the game that the character's like emotions and going through all of the crap he went through basically made him very feminine in the gender roles of France, which are very prominent at the time of filming. And he said he seemed more like a woman, so he made it a woman.
Hmm.
And that's literally his reasoning, which take it for what you will. That's like
I-
direct from him.
So I don't know if this also would play a role into it, which maybe you guys can give me your thoughts. So Harry as a character doesn't I don't feel like people remember Harry as much as like James and Heather,
For sure.
like at all. Like Harry is one of the bottom for the big three games,
Yeah.
right? Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 are the main ones. 4 and then on are kind of the ones where they start falling down a little bit.
Yeah, the first three are
So
the
when you look at the three,
big three, for sure.
yeah. So number one, right? It I think number one's amazing. It's my favorite Silent Hill. But I do think that like James is a better character than like Harry.
I would probably
for
agree
myself.
from the little bit of knowledge I have. But I just don't
And
understand
then
why they completely changed that way for the film.
the reason I think is I think Heather is the favorite overall
Yeah. But even
from
then,
all of them. So I'm guessing they were like, well, Heather's the favorite. We'll put her as like the main character in quotes, but change the name up so it's not actually Heather.
yeah.
And then they're just giving her the role of being Harry though.
Yeah,
But it looks
I get it. And like I understand his reasoning, not that I'm going to say I agree with it, but the film's incredible. I mean, Alessa was like the actress who played Alessa was like 11 years old and she was filming like 4 different movies and films at this time. And I thought she's literally the perfect Alessa. She got changed for the second rule because she was like 4 or 5 years older, so she wouldn't be a good little child anymore. But I thought she was amazing. I thought like the art direction they went with was amazing.
yep.
They did what video game movies should. They took the main idea of the story and made their own little story with it instead of trying to go one to one with the games. There's some weird pop-ups in this. As Silent Hill fans, we're all too used to Pyramid Head popping up where he shouldn't be at this point, and he makes his appearance in this, which doesn't fit
Yep.
the official lore, but
It's because he's like
the face of Silent
the
Hill.
face of Silent
It's
Hill, yeah.
nemesis to Resident Evil. Like you're just gonna see him everywhere, and
I really think
he's
Oh,
cool.
go ahead.
Like I
Mhm.
thought it was fine. Everyone complains, oh, they're retconning this, retcon. No, they're just making a movie. He's cool on the big
Yeah.
screen.
I would have honestly liked to see him more, like play more of like a role or like a little backstory. Like you learn like Pyramid Head and like in the if I'm not mistaken, in the games down the road, there's more than one Pyramid Head, and they're like a like not like an instigator, but like a they like cause terror in their own little versions or whatever. Am I right?
Mm,
So Pyramid Head is like supposed to be just James's representation of
so
like
from Silent Hill 2, it was supposed to be just
it's
one
from
Pyramid
yeah.
Head.
It's supposed to be him, but there are multiple instances of Pyramid Head in Silent Hill 2. Like there's a fight specifically where there's 2 Pyramid Heads in the same room that you have. So now what does that mean? I don't know, but it's also all in his head.
Yeah, and it's
Which
Pyramid
is-
Head also pops up in random games down the road that are made by non-Team Silent developers.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's basically, realistically, Pyramid Head was only supposed to be in Silent Hill 2 because it only makes sense because it's like
Right.
it's James as like his representation of himself.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's him what he imagines as himself, and then that's why there's a lot of sexual innuendos in that game because he's sexually frustrated in certain situations. Which I won't spoil too much for Joe because
Yeah, I was gonna say I just ordered Silent Hill 2,
yeah.
as well as I
So
just got
it's
my
just like
collection.
yeah, it's like just a representation of stuff for but basically it's James's projection of himself into the world that is all messed up. And
I
But
gotcha.
we could sit here and talk about the
Oh.
Silent Hill games forever. So let's
My
not get too deep in that.
my only addition to that is I really wish they would have just had Harry in the first one and have Tom Cruise play him, so that they'd rake in like $300-400 million, and they would have gone to the moon and back. Made 17 movies
So
with Tom
the
Cruise.
joke behind the
It-
Tom
it-
Cruise is whenever this game or movie was first being pitched, and Konami was, basically looking to who to give the rights to. There was 3 companies. It was Gons, the one who eventually got the rights. There was another company who I can't think of at the moment, and then there was Tom Cruise's production team. We were trying to get the rights to this, so we were this close to having Tom Cruise as Harry, just diving through.
He would have fit
windows.
the role. I mean, he'd have to do some heavy like leg exercises, but he would have fit the role.
But I do have the ratings here for this movie. IMDb gave this a 6.5 out of 10. This we also have to consider this was back in the mid 2000s. Video games weren't as big as they are, and so this was kind of just like it felt like a B-list horror film to them. Rotten Tomatoes gives this movie a 32%.
I told you. Honestly, that's kind of high. I'm kind of surprised it's got a 32. I would expect a 20 or less.
Yeah, the movie, it's just really good. And then they were like, it did really good. Let's make another one. But the developer or publisher was like, we're going to sprinkle our touch into this one. And Gons was like, no, you're not. And they're like, yes, we are. So he's like, fine, do it without me. Long story short, it went slightly different, but that's pretty much how it went. Then another director got brought on that was supposed to take it over. And for whatever reason, I believe this director ended up getting put in prison for like vehicular manslaughter.
Whoa!
So they were like,
The perfect director.
so they were like, all right, new director, and they picked MJ Bissett. And they were like, okay, so we had a $50 million budget for the first one. We want this to be bigger, better. We want to replace the Resident Evil franchise, which is coming to an end. So we want more action, but
And 3D movies.
yes,
are coming
and
out.
it needs to be 3D because that's so hot right now.
You drew the short straw.
And here's $20 million, director number 3. Have fun. And while I don't hate this movie, it's not what you would call good. For reference, IMDb gives this one a 4.9. Let's see if you guys could guess the Rotten Tomatoes score.
16.
17.
10.
Oof. I was close. I was close.
But I'll lead us off for this one. This movie is not bad. I think the casting for Heather is legitimately perfect. I think she looks just like Heather. She plays a good Heather. I think the plot for this movie could be better. Vincent, I don't remember all of Silent Hill 3 movie or game. I remember the movie. We just watched it 2 nights ago. But I don't remember Vincent being a thing. I could be wrong on that.
Vincent. Oh,
At least not in the way that he was in the film. Like that he was sent out to bring her to Silent Hill from the cult.
No, yeah, that wasn't. I don't believe that's in
Yeah.
the game at all.
But we do get to see
Jon Snow.
young Jon Snow in here. And this is after the beginning of Game of Thrones, which we found out the other night, which is really funny because I don't ever remember him looking that young in the show.
Yeah.
And his American
I also
accent
don't
is
remember. I don't remember Game of Thrones being around that long.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I definitely got into Game of Thrones late, but that's another. We also got Sean
Yeah.
Bean here, so.
Scene Bean.
But Adelaide Clemens, the girl who plays Heather, did phenomenal. Cast perfectly. They actually were at some film fest or something, and they hunted her down as she walked past. They were like, "She's the perfect Heather. We're getting her." But the film's good. The 3D, I hate 3D with a passion. I hate 3D. And of this $20 million they had, they're like, "Yeah, let's spend a portion of this that's astronomical compared to other stuff on 3D cameras, and let's not even know how to use them. So we have to pay people to teach us how to use them. It's just ridiculous.
Mhm.
All of the scenes are very forced 3D. Obviously, I know Avatar came out around this time in 2012, but Avatar did it right with 3D in my opinion. Like they used it for depth and not just popping out. This movie, it's just like cut off fingers, flying at the screen, giant hammer, flying at the screen, everything else flying at the screen.
It's like Jackass 3D.
Mhm. I should probably go watch a 3D movie in theaters now that I don't have glasses, so I can see if it's different, because 3D for the longest time was just terrible because I'm like wearing like multiple sets of glasses, and it's not very like uh what's the word, like it doesn't like draw me into the movie. I'm just like like what the heck was that?
Another thing they do in this movie is they focus a lot more heavily on CG because of the less budget. They can't pull off as many practical effects because they just don't have the money. Uh, as you watch the movie, I actually didn't notice this until I listened to a podcast about this movie, but the makeup as the movie goes on gets progressively worse to the point where, like, at the end of the film, the version of Heather as Alessa or whatnot, like, it literally looks like they're like, here's $5 in a dollar store makeup thing, do your own makeup, and we need you out here in like 12 minutes. So let's go. And
Let me tell you what I think really happened. They did all the makeup scenes in one day,
and it just
so
started
like
running.
you're seeing, you're seeing like when they first put it on, and then like midnight of the same day, it's just like just like faded. She sneezed a bunch, like all kinds.
So they had all of these actors, like Sean Bean's obviously a pretty big named actor. They had them on set for like a day and a half, tops. So that's exactly what happened. 2 days.
Yeah. Goodness,
And
yeah.
the movie has a lot of plot holes in general. If you ask me, the cult from the second movie and the first movie have just two completely different points. Like they just don't add up to be the same cult. It's just real weird. There's a lot of weird plot holes like that. And then out of nowhere, Pyramid Head is now Alessa's protector instead of just being Pyramid Head.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It
That
was
was-
definitely
tell
strange.
me what you guys think. I could talk all day about
That
this
was
stuff.
weird. I honestly, I don't mind the cult being different because it's Silent Hill, so like you could change a lot and just say it's Silent Hill.
Yeah,
like,
but the
it's just,
thing
it's
is-
just different, right?
This is supposed to be a direct continuation, as in like the first to third game.
Right. Like you could do some film stretching, and you could say like Silent Hill has changed since you were gone because there's like a lack of power or whatever.
Fair.
You know, like it's altered the dimension or whatever. You know, like you could come up with a pretty easy exposition, or you can just stick to the original. Right. You don't have to use your creative mind at all. Just stick to what was going on. Get Jon Snow in there and call it a day. I thought the Pyramid Head protector thing was weird. But yeah, it was just a shoehorn. I was like, we gotta get this guy in there, you know? Somebody get a triangle
So,
in this building.
one thing that they originally did in the first script of the movie that didn't end up being done was at the end where Alessa comes up in the bed and, you know, murders everyone in the church. They were originally going to have like a bunch of pyramid heads come out and be the ones to do it, which would have been like, oh, Alessa controls the pyramid head. So it would have made it work better in the second one, but that's not how the first one come out. So, like, why? I don't know.
I gotta say, like, I probably give the first film like a 7 and the second film like a 6. Like, I'm not too harsh on it. Like, I think they're still pretty good movies.
Yeah, it's
I'm not gonna...
Silent Hill's cool. Silent Hill's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool, dude.
I mean, well, I just want to piggyback off what Bravo said of like Silent Hill like being different. So they actually do mention that. So it's like canon that Silent Hill is based on whoever's in it. Like so, in the second game, Joe, you'll see what I'm talking about. So that I didn't have a problem with as much, but they just very similar to Uncharted for game wise. They were throwing everything at the wall, and they're like, we gotta put as much stuff, and it just jumped all over the place. It felt like, as in, like, it was very hard almost to follow what the hell
If
was
you weren't
going
a
on.
fan, it was a hard movie to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like I watched it with Bethany, and I watched it like probably 6 months ago or something, and she was really interested. She loved the first movie. She thought it was really interesting and liked the story of it. And then, and I was explaining to her like how it ties in with the games and whatnot. And then we start watching the second one. I'm like, I haven't watched the second one. I've heard nothing but bad things about it. And I'm watching, and I'm like, kind of cool, but holy crap! Every like five, she's like, what? she just was like, what's go? I'm so lost, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of rough, but I think their negatives are they try to shove too much into it.
It didn't have the
They
money to do
push
it.
the 3D. They shoved that 3D down your throat, which I'm not gonna say that they're at fault for it, because everybody who gets new shiny toy, I'm gonna put this in as much as possible, and then down the road 10 years later, it's like, oh, should have toned that back a little bit. It doesn't hold up as much, but um, I feel like atmosphere wise, it still once again holds up well.
I thought they did the
I
amusement
felt
park
like,
well, in particular.
yeah, I feel like they did some pretty good stuff. I think there were some cool things, characters and whatnot. They had some pretty good actors. The Heather looked like Heather. It was kind of like, it was definitely a wonderful job that they cast her, because like I felt like she was a good actress and she looked just like her. So yeah, I mean, I'm not like super harsh on it. You could tell that it had a lower budget. You could tell that it was not, you know, 3D was shoved down your throat and whatnot, and they try to do too much. But it's entertaining to watch, I guess. I mean, would I say go out of your way and 100% watch it? The first one, yes. The second one, if you love the first one and you want a little bit more, you might as well throw it on. But you're not missing too much.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have much more. This movie made about 56 million in the box office, which, I mean, they still doubled their money, but it didn't make a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not too surprising. But all right, how about we do something I'm sure all of us have seen because it's such a classic, and that's the Mortal Kombat movies.
Oh, let's just talk about all of them. We got
Yeah,
quite the
so
crew.
yeah, I've only seen the first two, like the old OG ones. I haven't watched the new ones. I know they were like starting like some TV show at one point, or maybe they did release a TV show. I don't know. Um, but the first two movies, let's I guess we'll tackle that, and then I'll let you guys roll into the newer ones. We'll do it oldest, newest, or something.
Works for me.
So first movie comes out, and I honestly loved it. It's super cheesy, but it's like fun cheesy.
Mhm.
Like the action. Goro is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in a movie. But it's just awesome. And it's funny, when he gets like hit in the old gonads, and his reaction, everything. It's got fun fight scenes in it though, I feel. But overall, it's like such a lighthearted movie. It's not the best, movie representation for the game, but at the time, I would say it's pretty good. What do you guys think?
Exactly the
Yeah.
same, to be honest.
There's no other way I could really put it. I mean, the movie was fun, and if you were a fan of Mortal Kombat, the movie was amazing.
Yeah, I honestly I would recommend people go watch it because it is fun. It's if you're not a fan of Mortal Kombat, it's definitely rough.
Yeah.
Because like the one, it's old, and doesn't really hold up very well for the whole. Like I would say the fight scenes probably hold up decent, but for example, Scorpion had a weird thing. Do you remember that weird like snake thing slithering out of his hand and whatever? That was weird, and then like reptiles CG.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to talk
there's
about
some
and break down out of that movie.
Yeah, basically, if you take the CG stuff and you're like just the hand-to-hand combat stuff, it was decent fight scenes, I would say. But
It's actually funny
yeah.
you mentioned about like somebody who's not a fan. My mom watched this movie with me and my dad because we both like Mortal Kombat. Literally, all she knows from the movie is the music, just
Yeah.
and then like anytime we talk about Mortal Kombat, she'll just be in the other room and you just hear her scream, "Mortal Kombat!"
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all she remembers.
It was but yeah, so we can just move straight to the second movie, which I think is called Annihilation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I don't know. So this movie has I really don't have a ton of memory of it because it's so bad.
Yeah, I don't remember much.
Like
of any
all
of
I
this.
remember is that this movie was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And
this one's definitely a recessed memory for me.
Yeah, it took basically effort to finish the movie. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if you it sounds like Joe has the same
I don't
feeling.
like if it was up to me, we probably wouldn't even mention this movie because it shouldn't have ever been filmed. Like the director deserves taken out back and put down.
Put it this way, I mean, I don't mind not talking about it. I just wanted to mention it because it's like, hey,
yeah,
we're going to talk about them, so you might as well just be like, hey, it's a dumpster trash. Don't watch it.
I want to watch it again now.
Stay away.
I own both of them. I will stream it if you want to watch it. And just to give you reference, it has a 4% Rotten Tomatoes.
I just saw. Oh man, it's got a 3.6 on IMDb. Yeah, they're lovely.
But
wow,
yeah,
that's brutal.
The movie's bad. Don't watch it. It shouldn't have been recorded. I'm pretty sure we could write a better script in the next like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was, I don't remember script wise and stuff. Like I don't remember the story at all. But it was like even it was even like the acting was like significantly worse. But the weird thing is like they had a lot of the same actors.
Yep.
Like it was still Raiden and Liu Kang, the same guys. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I think Raiden is just like it's a really cool concept, but I don't know if they were like directed poorly or they were like given the wrong. I don't know.
They're giving a lot of wrong everything.
The director's like super serious, over the top, cheesy, go.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I don't know. Now I do have to say, all these movies, even the bad ratings, are more true to the games than what people would like to admit because the games
are
a roller coaster ride.
They are a train wreck, but it's awesome.
The amount I watched I frequently watch like lore videos of video games. Like
don't watch
if you ever want to be completely entertained, Tomb Raider for one, but Mortal Kombat's another one where it just like you're like, okay, there's like demons and other worlds and stuff, so it's gonna go about like this, and then it's just like
bing bong, bing bong.
It just everywhere. Like I'm talking like timeline, multiverse, time resets multiple times with different people remembering different time. Like it's just crazy, and yeah. Anyways, we could jump to the next.
Let's hop to the
cluster of
newest one,
or just the most recent one. Yeah,
which was I believe 2021. But I was so excited for this movie because they're like, oh, we got a huge Mortal Kombat fan directing it. We're gonna, reboot the old movies and just make them better. And there's gonna be a ton of fighting, and super cool fatalities, and you're gonna see all your favorite characters. And then it came out, and we watched it, and the beginning of the movie was awesome. Like seeing Hanzo Zashi, which we know becomes Scorpion, and whatever version of Sub-Zero they sent after him and his family. And the story was just really cool at the beginning. They were like in feudal era Japan, and the first fight scene was amazing. And then we get to see this guy just get wrecked in the underground boxing ring. And they're like, "Oh, this is our main character. Who's this guy? Is he maybe going to turn into Johnny Cage? No, he's not. He's a new character that they decided to create for this movie, and we get to watch all about him and Sonya Blade, which are two characters I personally don't care about. Sure, there's Sonya Blade fans out there, but and they made it this big thing whenever marketing this. It's like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And I'm like, yes, my two favorite characters. Like, just give me a whole movie of those two going at it. We get the beginning and like 3 minutes at the very end. And that's it.
So, two thoughts here. The trailer concept that they sold us, and the thoughts that we had about that, where like, yeah, it's going to be like more of a story focused on Scorpion, and like maybe like a gray hero kind of a thing maybe happen. I don't know. Like, oh, he's a bad guy, but he's a good guy. I don't know. And the story we got was terrible, but I gotta say that I still really liked the movie, and a lot of the stuff that they did in the movie. But the main character was just like the worst part of it.
Please just kill him off.
I did not like him. Sam, I do not.
Not only
okay?
that, but like he then just gives Goro the hands, and it's like, what?
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's a weak character, and the actor was meh, but like, you had such a cool concept. I don't know. And additionally, I have like the strangest critique where even if the character's like really poor, they released the game, or they have a game for it, and they didn't release a character, like a DLC character that matched the character. Like, they missed a major opportunity to make some money,
like,
even if the guy's garbage.
I feel like they did that for a reason. They're like, we don't want any, get that out of here.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like, they released
a
movie, they added a new character.
There's a reason.
They could have done like a crossover thing.
There's a reason.
That's just
they
a
didn't
weird.
Add them. And I'm glad they didn't personally.
Yeah.
I'm fine with getting, Freddy and Michael Myers and the Joker, but don't give me that piece of crap.
Yeah.
The best scene in the entire movie were some of the fatalities. In particular, the Kung Lao one with the spinning hat, and that was cool. Melina was really cool. We got a handful of characters that we actually care about, and then there were like a bunch of Easter eggs to their characters. Like Katana is a massive Mortal Kombat character, and all we see is her Blade fans, and it's like we couldn't throw Katana in here somewhere. You threw everything else in randomly. We got this piece of crap main dude. Like, we can't get Katana, but whatever. I thought Liu Kang, Kung Lao's actors did really good. Thought Raiden's actor was a little awkward, and Raiden just seemed awkward to me throughout this whole movie.
Maybe Raiden's just supposed to be awkward.
Yeah,
he's like this hermit guy that can control storms.
But
or whatever.
He was very anti-Raiden to me in this. Like, he'd just go off and do something completely different whenever clearly everything's happening right here. And for the love of God, why was there not a tournament in this movie? The whole thing Mortal Kombat is focused around, and they're just like, no, we don't need it. We got Mr. Billy Club over here.
Well, the bad guys were trying to go around the tournament.
I get it, but maybe for the beginning of the movie, and then we have a tournament or even start the tournament and lead into like the next one. It's like, oh, how will the tournament end? No.
Yeah, I think the references and Easter eggs in that movie were straight up how you should do video game references and stuff. Like legitimately the way that the hat thing happened was just so good, you know. And then the way that he kept kicking, like doing the same move over and over again. When I saw the movie,
Yeah,
I was like, they better do like the continuous move thing, because that would be so freaking good. And like 15 minutes later, they did
And-
it, and I was like, ah,
That's me right there. Uppercut.
yeah.
But literally, we watched the whole movie. It started out, it was like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and I was like, yes, this is all I've ever wanted. And then the whole movie, and then at the end, it's like, oh, get over here. And it's like, it's finally happening. We're going to get this big, massive fight. 3 seconds later, over. I'm like, God, why? And that's all I wanted, was more Scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm a Scorpion fan, but like that's what they marketed to us, and that's all I wanted going in, and just never got it.
Well, it sounds like I didn't miss that much.
No. Unless you like Sonya Blade and
Yeah,
Billy Club guy.
My buddy saw it and he told me that he was like,
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
if you have nothing better to do, give it a watch, because what's good in the movie is good. What's bad in the movie is a lot of bad. But the bit that is good is 100% worth a watch. I'd probably give it like a 6.
Same, probably.
But
Even though like I liked the stuff that they did, like the main character was such a drag. Like,
but we can't have a episode about video games to movies without talking about the highest grossing franchise in film for video games without talking about Resident Evil. So we'll talk about the first cluster, and then we'll talk about Welcome to Raccoon City, which is the newest. I know Brad and I have seen that. I don't think Bravo even intends to see it, but Bravo has seen the old ones. Brad's only seen the first of the original. So let's start with 1, Resident Evil. We get introduced to Alice. We go down through the mansion really quickly into the hive. The outbreak starts. Brad, I know we've watched this pretty recently. What were your thoughts on the movie? And
From what I remember, the movie honestly didn't capture me that much, as much as I hoped it did. So I was kind of like, watching it. I thought it was decent, but I was kind of just, I guess, expecting a little bit more. And it's older, so it has like kind of like some of the CG stuff or whatever wasn't as amazing, but it was decent. There were some things that I remember liking, and some that I was like,
yeah,
whatever.
I mean,
I don't know. Honestly, I don't have too much to say about it. Like it kind of reminds me of the second Mortal Kombat, where I'm like, I don't remember it that much, and we literally just watched it that.
I mean,
like,
it's
not
been
long ago,
probably
and I was like,
close to a year, maybe a little over.
yeah, maybe it was. Like I just remember watching it and being like, I didn't even want to watch the second one. Like, you were telling me the second one's better, and I'm like, I don't know. Other than the fact that I'm just a huge Resident Evil fan,
Yeah,
and I feel like I have to. I own all of them. I bought the stupid DVD set, and I was like, all right, because it's so cheap. I think I literally bought it for like $10.
Yeah.
It's like 6 movies for $10, and I'm like, all right, I could sit down and watch all of these at some point, I'm sure. But I literally haven't even been bothered to pop one in. So it didn't do much for me. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan.
Bravo.
I watched it originally and thought it was pretty good. I'm pretty easily entertained. I again didn't know anything about the games. Probably didn't even know it was a game, and yeah, I mean I liked it. I think some of the stuff hasn't aged very well, but
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
I mean,
That's pretty much
the
me.
movie's from 2002. The bit of CG effect we got with like the liquor wasn't great. Um, I once again, I feel like if you went into this as a Resident Evil fan, it's a bit harder to watch than a casual fan or somebody who's not familiar with the series. But I once again, I feel like this is a fine thing to do with video game movies. You take the core concept and you make a different story about it. So instead of using Jill and Chris and all of them, we get Alice. Alice as a character is a bit interesting, at least through the first three movies, and then I don't want to talk about it, but I thought it was cool. They went through the mansion. You were able to see some rooms and puzzles from the games. Uh, they went down into the hive. I thought the zombies in particular looked good. Obviously, it's just makeup, but I felt like they did a pretty good job with that. The liquor looked goofy. We had what's her name, Michelle Rodriguez in the movie, so we knew she was gonna die. She did.
Mhm. I'm a huge Mila Jovovich fan, so
Yeah,
maybe I'm seeing through
rose tinted
rose-tinted
glasses.
glasses, but
But yeah, the movie's good
yeah.
for what it is. It's very basic, zombie flick. It's definitely more actiony than horror, but I thought it was a fun movie. I definitely still think
Yeah,
Brad should watch the second one, even though he didn't love the first one.
yeah,
Let
Brad, you
me
you gotta watch the second
The
one.
second one
let
you'll
me let
watch
me
and be like,
preface it.
"Oh, yes, this is game like this."
Yeah. So
The first, the go ahead.
all I was gonna say is basically, I think the reason is I watched it in like what 2021,
Yeah, it's dated.
and from a movie from 2002, and I do like the Resident Evil movies from the horror aspect, not the action aspect.
Yeah,
So if it's more action based and whatnot, like it's away from it just wasn't as what I was expecting.
it's fair.
That's all. Not
Yeah,
that, like I said, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't very memorable to me. I guess is what a bit more of is. So
But we got six of these movies to get through. Let's hop on over to Apocalypse. So, after the mansion incident, Alice gets captured by Umbrella, wakes up in like a testing facility, yada yada yada. Uh, Her friend, whose name I can't remember from the show, I don't think it's actually a different character, but they inject him with something as he got infected by the liquor. Mila wakes up, Alice wakes up, sorry, walks out into the city, and Raccoon City is destroyed. Like it looks like a Category 37 hurricane went through this place. And they tease at the end of the first movie. She grabs a shotgun out of a cop car and cocks it, and you're like, "Oh, now Resident Evil's gonna happen." And we're getting into the second and third games. This one, we get to see the Stars members trying to get out of Raccoon City before it gets bombed. We get to see some characters from the games that we know. Brad, I don't know how much spoilers you care about here, but you're getting them anyway.
go for it.
But we get to see Jill. We get to see like the Raccoon City Police Station, even though it's not the Raccoon City Police Department. But we also get to see Nemesis, and it's all really good. Like there's a lot of game in this movie, and I think out of the
Mhm.
series, this is probably the best one. And it's just fun to watch. A funny thing about the movies is the Hellhounds or Cerberus dogs, whatever you want to call them, in the first two movies of this are really well done. Like they're actual dogs. They use Dobermans, and then for a little bit later in the talk, Welcome to Raccoon City. Their dog is like from Resident Evil 4 graphically, and it's just real bad. But yeah, this movie's really good, Bravo. I don't know if you have any thoughts about it.
I thought I thought this one was better than the first. I feel like the first was pretty conservative relative to the other movies we've talked about, where like they were just throwing stuff at the wall, and this one's like we're just gonna contain it and we're gonna keep it simple. And then the second one they you know really opened up and made some good references. And at this point, I'm pretty sure I knew more about the games because I remember seeing Nemesis and understanding that. But yeah, much better flick film.
Yeah, and they also had
Cinema.
Mike Epps first made his appearance in this movie, and I love Mike Epps. But we also get to see Dr. Ashford, and you start getting a little more background into the T virus itself, and what's going on with Umbrella and whatnot. Really fun. And if anybody came up to me and was like, I want to watch a Resident Evil movie, which one? It's gonna be Apocalypse, that I'd tell them. Like, it's literally the closest you're getting to the games in terms of a movie, including the newest Welcome to Raccoon City, because that movie, I'm not gonna say it yet. There's a word for it. One word.
When you say Welcome to Raccoon City, do you mean the final?
No,
chapter?
it's a separate. It's the one that came out earlier this year that I went to theaters and seen, or it may have been the end of last year at this point.
All right. Okay.
But
okay.
Brad, I don't think you have anything you really want to input here. If you do, now's your time.
You guys are gonna be going on the next few ones until we get to Welcome Raccoon City.
Okay. Extinction happens after Raccoon City's incident is being wrapped up. It focuses on like the desert, which is a little weird in terms of Resident Evil because I don't believe Resident Evil 5 was out at this time, so it was the first time we were getting away from the games. And for what it was, this is where it started getting a little fuzzy in terms of like Alice starts becoming a superhero. But the movie was still good for what it was up until like the very end of it, in my opinion. And there were some nods to the fourth game in it, in my opinion, it felt like, which were fun to see. But yeah, I thought this movie was really good. It's just another one. I enjoy all 5 of them I've seen for different reasons. This one was just like a fun actiony movie to watch.
Yep. I couldn't have said it better. I was waiting to say exactly that. Is it just turns from any kind of semblance of real like horror or suspense, and it's just like, let's see what Mila can do.
Yeah. And it's for what it is, like if you're watching this as I don't want to say as a non-Resident Evil fan, but if you're just watching it as an action movie in the Resident Evil universe, it's a cool and fun movie to watch. And then we get Resident Evil Afterlife.
Terrible.
And let me just make sure this is the one I think it is. Yeah. So we all the way up to this point, we've seen like little cameos from game characters, but we haven't really focused on any. Now we get all of them. So we get Claire, and we get Chris, and we get Wesker, and it's just all these other characters. And apparently they're just keeping Chris in a box on top of this building in LA. And it's just like,
And I'm pretty sure they bring Nemesis back, like,
yeah,
with like more, like he's like more mutated.
yeah. And this one is 3D. So you know how we feel about 3D. This came out in 2010. And I believe, yeah, this is the 3D one. I'm almost certain. And we get the big, this one was all about the hammer scene. So the enemy from Resident Evil 4, the like executioner with his big hammer, and oof, that's all it was. 3D, yada yada. Bravo. Anything else to add to this? It wasn't even a good action movie.
No. It just turned into like demigod superhero stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just too much of a deviation for me.
Yep, basically same thing. Then we move into Resident Evil Retribution. This one I actually liked in terms of an action movie, but essentially all it was Alice pretty much hunting down Umbrella, goes into like this Siberian underwater hive base, and basically just wrecks the place. Really fun because they had like setups like it was a normal town and all this and simulations, and then things went wrong. It's Resident Evil. And she basically just blasts her way through it, and it's a fun actiony movie. again, obviously she still has her powers and whatnot, but this one was more fun than Afterlife to me, tenfold.
I didn't think I saw this movie until you mentioned the simulations.
Yeah.
I have seen this movie.
Any input?
No, I think they pumped the brakes a little bit on the previous one, and it's just a
Back on the gas.
fun actiony movie. I don't know.
Yeah. But then we get to the final chapter, which I haven't seen. My dad is a big fan of these. He said this one was one of the better ones. It starts off in the White House just being like swarmed by all these different BOWs. I don't have much input to it. IMDb gave it a 5.5. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 37%. This is the end of the Alice arc of Resident Evil. This one is actually on my watch list, but it's almost 3 hours long, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, I need to watch it as well, so I'm not really going to talk about it.
Well, in that case, we're on to Welcome to Raccoon City, Brad. Wake up.
Hey! Whoa!
So I'll let you start this one off because I can go for a long time on this one.
All right. So, funny thing, Joe told me the movie was really bad, and I actually was going to go see this in theaters by myself one day, until Joe told me that, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yep.
So, anyways, I showed Bethany I ended up showing her the trailer for it, and she was, because she likes like zombie, like she doesn't
horror.
care.
She's
like,
into horror.
Pretty. Yeah, she's not even really into horror. Actually, she doesn't like horror, but she likes zombies, like the whole, like The Walking Dead.
Okay.
You know? She likes the action stuff, you know. So she's like, oh, okay. And then she sees at the end, it's William Birkin, and she's like, what? What is this? They just ruined the entire movie. Like, I don't want to watch it now. And I'm like, son of a, because I was like, I had her sold. And then I was just like, you know what? You got no choice. I rented it. We're watching it. So we started up, and I will tell you right now, the first 15 minutes of the movie are, I think, the worst 15 minutes of the entire movie.
Oh, God, I think it's all the worst 15 minutes of the entire movie.
The first 15 minutes, they like do these weird things. They made Leon the worst character of all time. I feel it's like he's nothing. And then they like had they did like the Jill sandwich joke with her. She like steals this, I can't remember who she steals from, maybe Wesker or something.
Yep.
Somebody, she steals a sandwich. He's like, hey, that's my sandwich. She says something like, you snooze, you lose. Now it's a Jill sandwich or something like that. And I literally was like, don't turn it off. You gotta make it through it. You gotta make it through it. And I'm not even kidding, 15 minutes into it, I was like, I'm turning this thing off. I don't think I can watch it.
He actually
literally didn't think I'd watch it.
Messaged me and was like, Joe, I can't do it. After he sent me a picture like 10 minutes before, he's like, we're doing it. And then the next message, literally before I even got to see my phone from the first one, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, that was fast.
Yeah, I was, put it this way, it was so bad, I stopped it and I looked at her and I go, I'll watch this on my own if you want. Because it was like that bad. I was like, I feel like I have to watch it, but I will literally watch it on my own, like, so you don't have to. She's like, no, it's fine. I got nothing else going on. And I'm like, okay. So we start watching it, and like, there were some things, I'm not going to be as harsh, I feel like, as Joe. Like, I thought the RPD looked pretty good. I felt like the mansion looked pretty good. Like, this is one thing I feel like games for the, like, video game movies do well is environment wise. Like, I feel like the RPD didn't look bad. It looked like what I would feel it would be represented in a movie. Like, the mansion looked pretty decent. But like, it just felt like a super budget movie. Like, it felt like it was like a high school project that some guys like threw together. And they were like, all right, here we go. And they got like the 2002 CG team to come on and
Do the dogs.
make, yeah, and stuff. It was just
CG looked terrible.
It was bad.
Okay.
But
Just for
so
reference,
Joe,
this movie had about a $42 million budget.
okay,
So it's not massive,
That's a lot of
but it's not
No.
a
small.
lot of movie to use $42 million on.
Yeah. Do you have any more to
It
go
was-
on, Brad? Because
I mean, like, this is what I'll say. I know Joe's gonna absolutely rip it to shreds. After that 15, 20 minutes, we'll say, like, I don't know roughly how long it was. I'm taking a guess. It was that first third of the movie. Once they got to, they kind of got more into the meat of the story instead of like introducing the characters and whatnot in a weird way. It felt like the movie got a little bit better. It was a little more entertaining. But I will tell anybody, I don't know if you have, like, I don't even remember, do they have an epileptic warning? Because that movie literally will give
I don't think they do.
people, like, I don't know how they got it. They should be sued because I almost had a seizure watching this one scene. There's literally a scene where it's,
They're
I
in
think
the
it's
dining
Chris.
hall. It's Chris and
Yeah, it's Chris and then Jill.
No, it's
maybe,
not Jill.
Comes around or something.
it's someone else. God, I can't remember who it was.
I don't even know if there's anybody else. I think Chris is there, and then somebody shows up at the end of it. or
Maybe.
something. I think it's
Was it
mainly Chris in the
Vickers? Was he with
beginning, and he's-
Vickers?
Might have been. Yeah.
I think he may
But
have been
anyways,
Vickers.
that's not the point of it. Basically, it's this dark hall, pitch black, and they're like, you know, what'd be cool is if every time he shoots the gun, it just flashes for like a second and
And
a
not
half
that he's like
of what the
playing with
scene-
his lighter and it won't light, and then every
Yeah.
time it does, there's someone there and it's like wow, wow, and
Yeah.
you're like,
But
oh
it
god.
was just like when he was. It was literally just like a flash, flash,
Yeah.
flash, like bright screen, and I was like, but it happened a long time.
Yeah, it was-
like even like a little.
Yeah, like
short-based.
if it was like a minute, it'd been fine. But it's like 5 minutes of this.
It was like 5 minutes of this thing. It was insane. It was actually like hurting my eyes. To
It was a
watch
cool
so
scene if it would have been shorter. It would have been a cool little
Yeah.
scene.
It would have been.
And then,
if
like-
it was like maybe.
You're watching it, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. And you're, okay. Oh, it's still
Mhm.
going. Oh my god. Can I go to the bathroom? Like, do I have enough time?
Yeah, I think what it probably would have been better is that he like, say he got in the dining hall, it was pitch black, pulls out the lighter, which is his little
Yeah. Like his
call
nod to the
him
game.
having, not to the game. He's trying to light it to see. All of a sudden, there's a zombie, and they do one flash of him shooting the zombie in the face,
Yep.
and then it goes on from there. It would have been perfect, and it probably would have played out great.
Or they
But
even could have
instead they're
did like
like-
the grab from the remake where they like push off. After,
Yeah,
they could have did
yeah,
something like that.
It just they dragged on too long. Also, they like completely changed how the characters are. Like Leon is
A buffoon.
basically useless. He's useless. I honestly don't remember Jill almost at all.
That's
Now I'm
because
thinking about it.
she
She was
all that she has in this movie is that she's in love with Wesker.
yeah, and then they made like Wesker a like
Not
he
bad guy.
he barely betrays him.
Yeah.
He like
He barely betrays.
yeah, it was like so in the game he's just a bad guy. And in this movie it was like, wait, we can't leave Chris. And he's like, but I want to leave. I'm going to go
Oh,
this way. That was like the betrayal. I
Yeah.
was like,
And then
Oh.
Jill's crying. Oh, Wesker betrayed us.
he betrayed us. He's a bad guy. And it's like, no, he just went the other way because he didn't want to die in a house full of zombies. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I would have probably made the same decision.
And like he didn't
honestly.
even know he was a bad guy the whole thing. He just had like his little thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, get this and get this, and we're gonna give you lots of money, whatever."
Yeah.
Any more?
But that, like, Chief Irons, obviously, was completely different. He wasn't. He was just, I think he was just literally a good guy. I don't think he was bad at all. It was strange, too. Yeah, we can go on and on. It was basically a train wreck, but, like, there were bits and pieces of it where I was like, it was entertaining when it was entertaining, but it was a train wreck, like, just bad for
Yeah.
the rest of it. I don't know how else to explain it.
Okay. I'm going to try and make this quick because this has been a pretty long episode so far, but we got a lot to say, so I'm going to start rambling. First, this movie was about Claire, period. We got to see the beginning where it was Claire and Chris in the orphanage. We knew they were orphans. That's a part of the game's story. Whatever. Why is Lisa Trevor there? Give me one good reason why Lisa Trevor should have been there.
I forgot about her.
Yeah.
I forgot she was in the movie. But her costume design was probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, it was, but
Go on.
that's like saying you won. I'm not going to even go down that. It wasn't. That's not a good thing to be proud of. Okay, yada yada. Claire finds out about their testing on kids and whatnot because of Lisa Trevor. Whatever. We skip forward. Claire rides into town in the truck. The dog licks up the gut, becomes infected, bites the driver later. You know how that goes. Resident Evil 2. They mashed games 1 and 2 together for whatever godforsaken reason, instead of just doing game 1 and then mashing 2 and 3 together, which would make sense. No, we can't do it the right way. We have to do it backwards. Leon, it's absolutely like insulting what they did to him. Alvin Yogia is a decent actor. When we were talking about earlier, do you want this big name actor or do you want someone who looks like the character? Well, he doesn't look like the character, but I know he's a good actor. He's not a good actor whenever his plot is literally be an idiot. I still think he was the best acted of the movie. Jill Valentine, huge character in the show. Doesn't look like her character. They don't give her the outfit of her character. We get to see a solid 3 minutes of her through the whole movie. The Jill sandwich line sucked. Her acting was subpar at best. For what she's given, though, you can't fault her. Chris Redfield looked like Chris Redfield. I was ready for him to go punch some boulders. But he really didn't. Wesker didn't look like Wesker, didn't act like Wesker, didn't have the story of Wesker. Brian Irons was a waste of a scene. It was just
Chief Irons.
It was just wasting screen time.
So Bethany was she was literally calling out. She's like, "This guy is so bad at acting."
Yeah, it's
so bad.
It wasn't good.
Which guy is this?
Chief Irons, Donald Logue. I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, which I'm not gonna say anything about them as actors because
I mean they're better than me.
It's very hard to say.
But
yeah, but it was just a rough.
Yeah,
it was a rough movie overall. So I'm not gonna blame the actors for their position in it. It was just
yeah. I'm not blaming the actors because they were definitely set up for failure from the get go. I actually thought Birkin's actor did good, but Neil McDonough is actually a decent actor. So the little bit
I felt like Birkin's part was pretty.
Yeah,
good,
so he did his thing. But back to the actual plot of the movie, the diner. So they basically come out and tell you in the movie, they're like, "Oh, Umbrella used to be big in this city, but they're moving out of the city, and everyone's moving out of the city. The city's basically dying. You're only stuck here if you're poor or whatever other reason." Then you find out that people are getting infected because Umbrella's leaking stuff into the water supply. So people are slowly becoming infected. Okay. You go into the diner, you get to see Leon actually passed out drunk at the bar. They shoot a ketchup bottle off his head or something, and it's just like, oh God, no. They're not doing this to my boy Leon. They do it to your boy Leon. And the stupid line, and then the diner waitress is bleeding from her eye, and Leon tells her, "Oh, you should get that checked out." And she's like, "Oh no, it's been like this for a few weeks." Who in the right mind doesn't get checked out for bleeding from their eyes? But okay, you got this weird love triangle going on between Leon and Jill and Wesker. I don't even know if I would call it a triangle. It might just be a broken line because Jill's just in love with Wesker, which is super weird. But okay, we go into the sets. The sets are awesome. Raccoon City Police Department looked identical to the remake of the game. You could tell it was the outside looked a little more built, or maybe it was the opposite. One of them looked like a green screen. but it was still cool because it was the one we know from the game. The zombies on the outside that are slowly getting infected are like more. I don't even know what to consider them. They're like I Am Legend type zombies, like they run and whatnot. They're not zombies,
Mm-hmm.
which is like Claire gets attacked in Chris's house, and apparently Claire's bike that everybody knows that she has, her motorcycle, is Chris's, and she steals it. And Chris, like, they sound the alarm because things are happening, and Chris is like, "Oh yeah, I got to work night shift tonight. I need to go to work, not stay in my house like they're telling me to. Whatever."
Hmm.
There's so much. The dogs look like crap. In the mansion, the front of the mansion looks right, and the entryway looks right to the games, and then nothing else. They don't care. Irons was literally put in there for. Okay, here's Irons' whole story. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't figured it out yet. Irons panics, throws the keys at Rookie Leon, who's sitting at the front desk, like listening to music, not paying attention to the zombies outside, the zombie running in on the building on fire, whatever. Chief Irons throws him the keys, he's like, "You're in charge now, kid," and gets in his car and leaves. And he's trying to leave the city. Then we see our only two Umbrella employees of the entire show standing at a gate, and then they randomly just start shooting at civilians. Irons is like, "Oh, this is bad." Backs up, drives back to the police station, and hides. That's all of Irons. That's the whole story of him. Welcome to the club. Leon is a hooligan, can't figure out how to shoot the zombie in the cell. I believe it was Claire that was like, "No, this is how you do it, you idiot." Yada yada. Big bad. The whole thing was awful. You go into the orphanage with Leon, and I don't even remember who he was with, but the liquor's there, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, liquors are good. Liquors are good." And I was like, "Yeah, they're gonna get jacked up, or it's gonna be a cool fight." No, Lisa Trevor King Kongs this thing, rips its jaws open, and kills it. And I'm like, "What?" No, this is a fever dream, right? Like, this ain't real. No, it's bad. They go into the basement, into the hot. I don't even want to call it a hive. Into the testing grounds of Birkin. Birkin gets caught by the team and infects himself and transforms. And whatever, Sherry and his wife Annette is there. Annette's not even a scientist in this movie. She's just an innocent bystander. Whatever, they fight with him. He grabs Chris or whoever. They kill him with a rocket. Chris would have died to the rocket. Cool nod to the game, though, that they shot him with a rocket. Like, there's a lot of cool nods to the game. The movie sucked. They implode the city at the end, and like it falls in, and then you just see a cow go flying across the screen. And what? It
They had to budget for that. They're like, we have to have the cow.
But the whole movie, like,
Absolutely.
they're flicking up. It's like, oh, 10:57 p.m., 1:03 a.m. Like, through the whole movie, it's like what? It's so bad. It's so bad. And this guy's like,
It
"I'm
was
a
definitely-
huge fan of the games. I love the games. I play the games all the time. If you're a fan of the game, you're gonna love this movie." And no.
It was definitely a weird choice to make 1 and 2 together, like combined, I would say. Like, because they were doing this countdown and kind of flashing back and forth, because they don't happen the same day. So
Yeah.
that was the weird thing. But
I tried.
Either way.
I tried so hard to watch this and like enjoy it, but I was literally at the movie theater seeing it, messaging our group chat because I was the only person there. Literally the only person in the theater. And I'm like, do I just leave? Like, this is that bad. I've never walked out on a movie before,
probably could have.
and I should have.
Probably could have got your money back.
Yeah, I've never
Probably
walked
would've
out
been
on a
worth it.
movie either.
Yeah,
I almost did once.
I've never been so close, and like I literally just stuck it out because I was like, I have to. It's Resident Evil. Maybe
Yeah.
something's gonna click, and it's just all gonna come together and be like, wow, this is great. No, it just gets
Yeah.
worse and worse. The first 15 minutes are garbage. It's I just have so much to complain about.
You're very passionate about this. I feel like I've watched the movie myself, and you've saved me the effort of watching the movie.
Well, I'm gonna make you watch the movie. I want to watch the movie again because like there's no way it could have been as bad as I remember it being.
How long is it?
It's like an hour and a half,
Okay, all right.
maybe closer to 2.
I could do some laundry and watch it and
Yeah,
sit in the
it's-
Discord or something.
it's like there's no way it was that bad, right? Like it's just me misremembering. That's the only thing I could.
It is. It is actually.
It's. I swear that guy's not played a single Resident Evil game. Not one. They just showed him like pictures of like the mansion and RPD. He's like, I got this. I got this. The characters
This
aren't the
is
characters.
easy.
Oh, and the ending credit scene. Oh my god! I was at first I seen it. I was like, this is cool. This is like the nod to booting up the game, and then they shoot it. No, it's Ada and Wesker, and apparently that's a thing to get that they're working together. And I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he it was basically the from the Uncharted movie.
Yeah.
The Sully mustache to
It's a mustache.
it's him putting the glasses on that he's kind of like known for
He's-
having on all the time.
It was-
That was
The
basically
transformation scene of Birkin was actually pretty cool. That's the one good thing I'll say about this game. When he
yeah,
transformed.
that was the only thing I liked it a lot. I thought that scene was amazing. Actually, it was very entertaining. Like the whole all of it around.
Yeah,
it,
no,
I
no,
thought was
no, just the
well done.
transformation was well done. I hated everything.
I thought the fight and stuff like that.
Okay,
was, like,
Annette and
decent
Sherry were
whatnot.
standing like 2 feet from Birkin whenever they shot the rocket at him.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying close attention to like rocket physics when I
But-
was watching.
We never seen
Uh,
Leon and Ada together.
Mhm.
It was
Well, Ada wasn't even in the movie until the
yeah,
end.
but like in Resident Evil 2, Ada's in the game,
Yeah,
and
I'm just saying, like she just, I just was expecting her just to not be in the movie.
yeah, at that
'cause,
point I
you know,
was
I
too.
mean,
But I was expecting her
they-
to be when I walked into the theater, because
Yeah.
Ada's a pretty big point of Leon's storyline. If there's Leon, there's Ada.
To be fair, we didn't expect Leon to be basically useless, and
Dude, I don't understand.
so yeah,
But
it just wasn't done well from a Resident Evil standpoint at all, and a movie standpoint. But you know, like I don't think it represented it well,
No.
other than the scene, like the environment of RPD mansion and stuff like that. Like that stuff looked good. But other than that,
there were cool Easter eggs. The movie sucked. That's where I'm done. I'm done. I give up. Wrap it up.
Fair and balanced. Well, gang, that's the episode. We've done a whole lot of talking about video game to movies, and there's even more to talk about. Perhaps we'll do another one, or maybe even a third one about the same topic.
We got to talk
There's a lot
about,
to talk about
like
here.
TV series, so we'll have to do another episode.
Yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff. But if you made it this far, we appreciate you. We're just three dudes.
I appreciate
chatting it
you
up,
listening to
talking.
my rant.
Sometimes one of us talks for 20 minutes, the other two just sit there patiently. Sometimes the two of us talk and the other guy's like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. It's fine. That's just what we do here, okay?
All right, I'm sorry,
what we
Bravo,
do.
but like in my
No, that was
headcanon, it's like Zelda, Resident Evil. Like that's for my.
Yeah. But yeah, drop a like, drop a follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. I don't care. Okay. Have a good day. Yell at us on Twitter at envision_org. We'll catch you next time. Wrap it up.
peace.